Welcome to the Recruitment Rollercoaster podcast. My name is Hisham Azuz. Today I am in sunny Bristol, and you're both from Bristol, aren't you?
Born and bred.
Born and bred. And I'm joined by Jack Cole on my left and Tom Hurley, who's in front of me, who are both the founders of a recruitment business called Method Resourcing. Hashtag follow the method.
Hashtag follow the method.
Thanks for joining me, guys.
Cool. Thanks for having us.
Excited. So as I was saying to you before, I haven't done this with two other people for a while. We should bought some new kit.
Yeah.
This is exciting. So obviously we are going to spend quite a bit of time talking about your journey so far in starting your own recruitment business. But where I always like to start is, how the hell did both of you end up in the world of recruitment? Let's start there.
I'll go first. In short, never had the intention of getting into recruitment. Wanted to be a police officer.
Really?
Yeah, originally wanted to be a police officer, but basically didn't want to go in at like the age of 18 years old. Wanted to get a bit of life experience. So like most people, ended up working in sales, doing door-to-door sales. Absolutely hated it for like the first...
What was you selling?
Gas, electric,
oh, wow.
boiler cover.
Door-to-door?
Door-to-door.
I mean, that's grim.
Scotch and Southern Energy.
Wow.
It was all character building. I mean, I was quite like a shy individual at that time, and I didn't think sales was going to work for me. But first 6 months, absolutely hated it. But then kind of got in a groove, started to enjoy it, and then started to make some decent money. I was made redundant, which kind of fell at a really convenient time because I was actually looking to leave after about 18 months.
But you did door to door for 18 months.
Yeah,
mate. Fair play, mate. That's a long old time, that, mate.
Yeah.
That is a lot. That's like a life sentence for door to door, isn't it?
That is.
It is pretty much.
Because like normally it's like, because you end up in those like weird pyramid schemes, don't you?
Yeah, I was on the rare one where I actually had a basic salary of
really
like £12,000 a year.
Yeah.
Rolling in it.
Things at 14, mate, that's a lot of money, isn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Do you feel like that definitely gave you like a good grounding though?
Yeah, it was
what
like,
was to come?
It was a good confidence boost, knowing how to like just overcome objection, and actually taught me to be like an opportunist. Sounds like really strange, but like if it was raining, instead of being sat in the car waiting like for it to like the rain to cool off, I'll just stick myself out in the rain so that I'm still on a doorstep. People then go, oh, young like 17-year-old lad, he's getting wet, let's bring him inside. As soon as I was in the house, then I'm in a position where I can then just have like a deeper conversation. 9 times out of 10 I then end up like actually just signing them up. So I think that like it was the early years of just being able to like, you know, be an opportunist and then like capitalize on it.
I think when you get into sales as well, I think it's, for me, once you're in sales and you actually give it a good old crack, I could never now be in a job where Dave next to me does the same job and it's not sales and like we get paid the same, but he's half-assing it and I'm doing, do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So like being able to actually like earn what you put in, I don't know. Once I experienced that, I was like, there's no way I'm doing a job that isn't sales. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So yeah, basically went from doing that, got made redundant, walked into Office Angels to get a sales job that they were advertising at the time, and then walked out with a job in recruitment.
Sold you the dream.
Yeah, pretty much.
What about you, Tom?
I actually got declined a job at Office Angels.
Did you?
Yeah, which is probably an embarrassing fact, but you know, it's part of my recruitment
Journey,
that's the one. Yeah, I was like most. I did a degree and sports coaching, absolutely useless. Shock. And yeah, I didn't know what I was going to do. I was going to go into teaching, the usual kind of stuff. And actually, my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, her flatmate's boyfriend worked for Office Angels, and he said, "Why don't you go for an interview at Office Angels?" So I rocked up in a pair of sandals, shorts, and a t-shirt, like a typical student.
Oh wow!
And basically got laughed out the room.
What, you literally walked in and was like, have you got any jobs?
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Pretty much. So obviously I didn't get a job there. And then I interviewed with Progressive in Bristol and G2. And yeah, started working for G2 14 years ago.
But I'm assuming, obviously, what I know about them, you definitely didn't go there in sandals.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, you would have got laughed at.
Absolutely.
Big time.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so for both of you then, what was your perception of recruitment at that point, out of interest? I was interested in that.
I didn't really have one. Like,
really?
No, because I think like you, I suppose when you hear about recruitment initially, it's all about like money and fast cars and all that kind of stuff. But at that particular time, for me, it was just I just needed a job, and like it was the first job I got offered, and it wasn't until I actually got into the industry that I started to really understand what it was about and how difficult it was. But obviously, the rewards you can get from it.
Okay. Did you have what was your perception?
To be fair, the guys at Office Angels were like really good at just like setting the boundaries and the expectation of what the role was all about.
Fair enough.
Because I'd initially gone in for something completely different.
Yeah.
So it was like a real education piece. And I actually was like, yeah, I like the manager.
Yeah.
I bought into him. And like the way he just sold it to me, I was like, yeah, just makes sense to go in and do that. I like the fact that it was, you know, really sales focused and it wasn't kind of like the administrative HR side of things, which sometimes like recruitment can get perceived as being.
So how long have you both been in recruitment now since then?
It's my 14th year.
14th year.
Yeah.
9 years now. Yeah.
9 years. Long old time that, lads.
It's a long old time. Yeah.
It's a long old time. So I guess what I always like to talk to people about, because it definitely is one of the most challenging parts of getting into recruitment, is your first 12 months. So just to set the scene, did you go into a perm or
So yeah, I was like, if
temps?
we're talking like Office Angels, it was like perm.
Was it perm?
Yeah.
What about you, Tom? Was it contract perm?
Yeah, I did perm for 18 months and then
okay.
flipped over to contract for 11 and a half years.
Cast back to your first year then. Talk to us a bit about that. Was it challenging for either of you? How was the first 12 months?
I tell you what, it was like a completely different type of recruitment to what we obviously do now. But like, I think there's some like really good lessons there, because like Office Angels, you're recruiting for office managers, secretaries, PAs, customer service, sales. You had so many different, I guess, like verticals that you're trying to recruit for. It taught you how to like recruit like really quickly across all those different areas. But what it didn't give you is then like the candidate relationship or the candidate management, because you could never use that candidate really more than say like twice. What it taught me was just like, you know, working a job with that pace, with that urgency, and hopefully then kind of.
How did you do billings wise? Do you know? Was it all right?
I'd done 150 grand in my first year,
not bad, is it?
which isn't bad, but it was a fairly warm desk in Bristol, which had been worked by like, you know, a million consultants previously. So it was a good candidate pool, good client pool. It was more of a case of like just like putting the placements into the businesses already there. So it wasn't really kind of like proper recruitment. I'd say that like the time I actually become like a proper recruiter is when I actually joined Opus, which was like 18 months later.
Fair enough. What about you, Tom, mate? How were your first time?
It was tough, like really tough. Yeah. So I walked into G2, I think as like the 4th or 5th member.
Oh, wow.
So you're walking into an office, right? You've got James Gorf and Simon Gillings, who are probably some of the top billers S3 and Progressive I've ever seen. Charlie Walker doing £500,000 a year on contracts. It's a pretty daunting thing, but tough. But like I learned a hell of a lot.
Really?
A hell of a lot, yeah.
What was challenging about that first year then? What if
Just
you were
think
to
like
think
you
about
just
some of the
go through.
challenges?
You go through like real emotions, don't you? Like you know, you can have like a real high and a real low. It can change by the hour. I think what I learned though is ultimately like you've got to be super positive.
Yeah.
Like hard work for me was the thing that got me through my first year.
Really?
Yeah, definitely.
Work ethic.
I just figured, like you know, it's quite old school, but I think if you were to, back in my early years, if I used to think if I worked harder than the person to the right or to the left of me, I'd put myself in a position to potentially give myself more opportunities, which has probably changed a little bit now. But I think for me, that was how I kind of attacked my first year.
Then just around that, just quickly, just because I think a lot of people listening, maybe around that part, and I think I always get messages around people saying like, "Oh, how can I get better at managing those?" Good times, bad times. I'm sure obviously now you having your own business is even more so, but
absolutely.
Anything that you got better at in that first year?
I think like if you're having tough times when you're 30, you just got to talk to people. Yeah. Because everyone goes through it. I've not met anyone in my 14 years in recruitment that have gone, it's been a blast for 14 years. I've never had a low. I've never found it difficult. So I think you've got to talk to the people around you. Yeah. You know, seek advice. And I think in hindsight now, like, don't be too hard on yourself in the first 12 months. Yeah. Because you think it's the worst thing in the world if you don't pull a job or you don't,
that's true.
hit your target or whatever it may be. But actually it's not. And if you just break things down, like I used to obsess around metrics. Really? You know, for some people, metrics aren't in recruitment, but I'm a big believer that they are. But for me, that was a big thing I used to.
So you really worked out what you had to do on a daily basis to
absolutely,
equal X.
Well, I think because when you first start out, and your first 3 to 6 months, if all you're purely thinking about is right, deal, you're going to get disheartened very, very quickly. I used to try and think, and I used to get my guys, and Jack, exactly the same, my trainees, is to think about, right, what's the activity I need to do in order to get to that point where I get my first interview or pull my first job to then ultimately get to your first place.
And they're just as good wins to celebrate.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. You got to celebrate the small wins, otherwise your brain, totally combust, don't you?
Being around those big billers then early on, how much do you learn? How much do you think they impacted you in those first 10 months?
Like a lot,
really.
But they were also different.
Really? That's
all
interesting,
very,
isn't
very
it?
different. Yeah, all very, very different. And I think I'm sure Jack will agree. Over the years, you're surrounded by different like big billers that have all got different backgrounds.
Yeah.
Some have done masters at Oxford. Some have, you know,
and then the different approaches.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think if you can take a little bit from each one of those and kind of, you know, people recruit in different ways, but they have equal.
Yeah, I think it's like
success.
be a sponge, look at what they're doing, and then sort of take what you like and put your own spin on things. But I think that's really good advice. Like if you're listening right now and you are struggling, it's like, one, are you speaking to anyone around you? It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to just say, look, I'm struggling with this, blah, 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 can you help?
Absolutely, yeah.
And also who you're learning from as well in those first 12 months. Okay, so just to set the scene then, Jack, for you, so you got obviously your ground in Office Angel, started there, then you worked at Opus for how long?
Nearly 6 years at Opus.
6 years, and obviously they was there HQ in Bristol? Because like that's like
it's an original.
It's like a Bristol,
Bristol
it's a quite renowned brand in Bristol, isn't it? So 6 years.
Yeah.
And then left there.
And then joined.
And then started Method.
Yeah.
And then Tom, just for everyone listening, so joined G2 quite early on.
Yeah.
Because what are they now? They're huge.
Yeah, G2V. Yeah, they're absolutely.
And you was like their fourth, fifth hire.
Well, I was a fourth hire at G2 or the fifth hire, and then Charlie Walker set up Vivid, which was an offshoot of G2, which is part of the G2V group, and I went to London with him to help kind of scale and run that office in London I was there for about 9 or 10 years.
went up against G2, didn't they?
All the time, yeah. So it's under the same group, but a lot of businesses will spin off businesses
that is mental, that, because I've got a bit of context around G2, but I can't remember who it is that I met, but their London office, part of it is G2 and part of it is Vivid.
Yeah.
And they're like direct competitors.
Absolutely,
That's mad.
Well, they're in the same office block, but in different rooms.
Yeah.
And but I love it because you'd go up against someone that you know, and as long as it was healthy competition, sometimes it might.
So went to London, but helped him.
And then I was there for 10 years. So I was a G2V group top biller, I was a Vivid top biller, and then found it quite difficult getting into management to start off with.
Really?
Like you tend to concentrate on yourself, don't you, when you first get into sales.
So you ended up there 10, and then after that you then set up Method.
Yeah, I moved back to Bristol with my wife and kids and worked for Opus for 2.5 years. I was regional director there, learned loads there, really great business. And then, the opportunities, came to set up on my own. And Jack is a co-founder, and that was 18 months ago.
18 months ago, cool.
Yeah.
So let's just talk a bit about that sort of journey up to that point.
Yeah.
So just to help me out, so both of you, did you go down the typical biller, senior consultant, then you're managing a few people? Did you both do that?
Yeah, so I joined Opus as a trainee recruiter, even though I had 18 months experience, but I'd never done IT recruitment. And my first 6 months were probably the hardest because I was trying to recruit in a way that I'd already learned. And actually I kind of had to just go in, reinvent myself completely from scratch again, and just kind of restart my recruitment career. So my first 6 months was actually really tough. Actually, only done one placement.
Really?
I still recall to this day, my manager, 6 months pretty much on the dot, said you got to do 3 deals today pretty much in order to keep your job. And I said, jobs. And I literally said to him, I was just you know what, I'll do that. I actually then done 3 deals that day.
Really?
Done 8 or 9 deals that month, and then won a ski trip to Chamonix for the last slot.
Smashed it.
And then never turned back from that.
So then, but in terms of the progression, it was started there, then
trainee, consultant, senior, principal, team lead, and then worked my way out to manager. We had 32 people working for me.
32?
Yeah.
And then Tom, just to help the context.
Really similar.
Really?
So started off as a recruiter and then worked myself up to team leader and sales manager.
Yeah.
But it's funny, isn't it? I think that progression, you can really identify what you're good at and what you're not good at as the sort of progression goes.
So quick one, definitely keen to sort of unwrap that. I think that there's so many things in there that you could probably give a lot of value around for people listening. Just on that point, Jack, that you were just saying, I think if you think of, obviously, I'm sure you've experienced it now, what would your advice be to people that are listening that maybe have made a move recently or considering a move? Because you hear it all the time where I'm a recruiter, I have 2 years under my belt, I go into another recruitment business and I feel like I know how to do recruitment. So I think obviously you had to have some real humility there to be had to reinvent yourself. Do you get what I mean? I think what did you sort of learn around that I think a lot of people will go through that. I'm sure you may have experienced it now where you hire a recruiter and then be I know how to do recruitment. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
like, what did you learn? How did you get better at that, or how did you?
At first, I was like a proud person. I didn't
Really?
want to ask for the help because I was going in with a bit of experience, and I didn't want to ask for the help. But I soon realised that actually, if I didn't, then
gonna get shot.
it was just basically.
So was it just that? It was like, hang on a minute. It was just a bit of a realization that what I've been taught, what I have been doing, isn't working.
Yeah, I think it was a bit of like self-reflection, really. Of like it's not working, ask for help, and then I just started asking for more help. Then started to identify like the areas where I'm doing really well in, but then like it was just really, really minor tweaks and changes that then just opened my eyes up of just doing things slightly differently, being a little bit more assertive with certain things that I was doing. And like as a result, deals then started to come through.
Why didn't you quit in those 6 months? A lot of people might quit.
I don't like
Tell the
losing.
truth.
Don't like losing, to be honest.
Really?
I'm quite like self-critical of like not failing.
Had a point to prove.
Yeah, basically.
Fair enough, mate.
Yeah.
What is that point, Jack?
What for myself?
We're going a bit deep. I was just joking.
Okay then, and then the markets you was in, was it IT, but tech, or what was the?
Because we were quite small when I joined G2, I basically mopped up any perm job that was given to me.
Really?
Yeah, so it was one day it would be like a mechanical engineer, the next it would be something else. But it wasn't until I went into contract myself that I actually built my own desk and did it properly, really.
Really?
Yeah.
And then help me out, Jack. So then did you basically, the journey at Opus was you building up your own desk, basically? Or
Yeah, I mean, someone done it very briefly for a period of time. So even though I was based in Bristol, I was recruiting in the London market.
Yeah.
Someone had done it for a very brief period of time. Done all right on it, but I kind of built it pretty much from scratch.
Really?
Yeah.
So let's just talk a bit about that period of you. Obviously, I know you've had to do quite a bit of that at Method now, but I guess, again, one of the most sort of common things that I get asked about is business development, winning new business, these types of things. So I guess you can talk about it now and how you approach it now. But I guess what's been your experience, or what are your thoughts on how people should be approaching new business, or the things that you've learned along the way that probably a lot of people fall short on?
I think for me, when I was at Opus, certainly, and like I still kind of encourage people to do that. Like now, it's like first 4 weeks, you just want to bury yourself into speaking to as many candidates as you can, contract and perm, because you need to know what a good contract CV looks like versus a good perm CV, so that if you're in a conversation with a manager, you're able to say, actually, the skill set you're looking for lends itself as a £300-400 a day contractor versus the perm salary of 40 grand, for example. So and then that way you can then obviously just build up what knowledge you've got on the market. I think knowledge is key at the end of the day. Like if you've got knowledge, you've got power, and then you can actually sell off the back of it. The best recruiters I've ever worked with are those the people that like know their market like the back of their hand.
Really?
Yeah.
I think you've got like, you fundamentally, to build if you want to be a big biller, you have to build a market. You have to know your market. Otherwise, you just spread yourself too thin. You're trying to do too many different things at once. And ultimately, I that's my personal opinion. I just don't think that's scalable, really.
What did you ended up niching down?
So I did business intelligence and data warehousing initially.
Really?
Yeah, for
just really double down on that.
Yeah, just double. Yeah, and it wasn't until perhaps as I got a little bit more experience that I mean, we were a classic contract biller. I knew my BI market and data warehousing market very well, but we would land and expand, excuse a cliche, with a client.
Yeah.
And network around the different hiring managers, get to know the hiring managers. So my contract, but towards the end of my sort of tenure at Vivid, was a real mixture of testers, devs, project managers, and it was a lot of the business was relationship led.
Really?
And I think that's the thing that people need to do now. And if you're going to again build out a good market in businesses, you have to have key relationships with key stakeholders. And I think that's something we've developed massively since we set our Method. It's not just about, it's about splitting your business development between like your reactive and your proactive lists. Your reactive quick wins, but also having forging long-term relationships with managers, attending events, running your own events, and making sure you've got strong relationships.
How do you, in your opinion, like how do you measure if you've got a good relationship with someone?
That's a good question.
That is a good one.
Know the names of their kids. No, I'm saying I'm genuinely serious. Maybe not know the names of the kids, but we were talking about this yesterday. I think it's hard. Maybe you can't measure it this way, but I think when you're having unwork related conversations before you get into work related conversations is a really good measure of how that person actually knows you. So some of the best people that Jack and I've worked with, we'll go and meet them for a beer and have a chat about non-work stuff for a good hour before we actually talk about the nitty gritty of.
I think it's a good thing to think about.
It depends how much business we've got.
It depends if you then get the Facebook friend request.
Yeah, exactly.
That's when you've entered the next level.
Yeah,
I've actually got 2 of them.
It's like obviously when you're thinking long term and stuff, it's like it's a good thing to think about. Right, is this going on the right track? What am I keeping? Do you know what I mean?
And this is where like you've got to be smart when you think about metrics and conversations. And it's like people are like, I made 100 calls today. Like that's not what we're referring to. Like it's about having a good balance between quality conversations that are going to lead to hopefully repeat business and also about identifying, is this something, what you don't want to do is sort of piss off a manager or candidate really, really quickly when actually over time you can forge something that is, more long term.
Yeah. So did either of you...
Sorry for swearing, Hisham.
No, it's fine, mate. You can swear on him, mate. It's not a problem. So did either of you want to become managers? Or was it like because of you build well?
I just wanted to be a director, mate, after about 2 weeks,
After 2 weeks?
I was just like, I want a promotion.
I think that like it's a maturity thing. I was like, I always wanted to be a manager because I assumed that or a director because I assumed that was the best job to have. But actually, like in reflection, like being a manager in recruitment, especially a bidding manager, like is fundamentally the hardest job that you can do. Like most recruiters I know are actually quite selfish individuals.
Yeah, of course.
And like that. Just because you're a good biller doesn't mean you're going to be a good manager.
Yeah.
And like I was a good biller, so I assumed I was going to be a good manager. And in actual fact, my first year as a team lead, I was probably pretty crap, to be fair.
Why was you bad?
Because I was just I'd hired cardboard copies of myself, and
so you'd always want to try and hire someone like you.
Assume that everyone would basically just follow suit to what I would do. But actually, that's not the way that management really works. It wasn't until we actually had proper leadership training that I actually then sat back and realised, crap, I've been doing this wrong for such a long period of time. And then just changing a few things. The biggest one for me was actually learning how people learn. Okay. Like a learning styles questionnaire. And then they kind of then gave you a gauge of how people like to learn, and then the output of that.
That's interesting. So a big learning for you was actually understanding how people best learn, and then that means you can deliver the training or whatever in the way that's going to best suit them.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's interesting. Because how many people know the best way that they learn? I definitely don't.
Depends how much sleep I've had.
Have you done that questionnaire for your guys?
Yeah, we have.
Everyone that we've hired, we've actually done the learning styles questionnaire. It's,
Really?
It's my thing now.
Really?
Yeah. Because I saw going from being fairly average, billings for my team to then actually, some pretty significant results off the back of it. So it's actually something that I've just taken with me.
Tangible,
It's great for picking markets as well, because you've got some people that learn, they like to fail when they do things and they learn that way, or people that like to plan, and putting someone on a contract or permanent market, different personalities suit different markets. So it's a great way to understand how you can develop and
It's a good way to self-analyze yourself as well. I'm a pragmatic, pragmatic.
Looking at Tom
mate,
for help.
you're looking at me, mate. You just told him learning styles. Let's make up a word, quick.
Oh,
I think that's a really good. I think that's really good, tangible advice. So I guess for you, Tom, did you again have the same sort of perception that if I was a manager, it means more money, more responsibility? That's the progression
I guess so. Yeah, I mean, as a young recruiter, I think my motivations initially was just about recognition.
Really?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely about having a good job title, earning as much money as you can, all the fickle stuff that actually now isn't that really important to me. As a young recruiter, so of course you wanted to be a team leader and a manager really quickly because I'm a team leader or a manager. But
of course.
Like Jack said, I think that the thing I found the most difficult for me was just you have to be. I was quite a selfish recruiter initially in my early years, and you have to think about the people. And actually, if you've got someone working for you, you've got to look after them. You've got to train them. You've got to develop them. And I think it's really important that, if you're going through that process now, if anyone's listening, is that, having two people working together with each other is a lot more effective if you're targeting clients than just one person that's, tunnel vision, deals.
How did you actually start changing that there? Well, like that, because that must have been a process.
I had loads of people that didn't want to work for me that left, you know, all that kind of stuff that you think, you know, I got to change what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I kind of found my own way of doing things over time. I didn't have the fortunate training that Jack did in terms of, you know, learning styles questionnaires and stuff. It was I wasn't retaining staff as a trainee. As a trainee manager, it was only when I actually started reflecting, right, what am I doing? Why would I want to work for myself if I was a trainee? And then I started thinking, actually, no, I wouldn't.
That's such a good question to ask yourself, isn't it? If you're a manager listening, I think that
I've made that up there.
that is a good question to ask, isn't it?
Great thing that Opus done. They sent out like anonymous like surveys done by like other directors, other managers in the business of like what their perception was of me.
Really?
And then like there was some good stuff in there, but there was like some like pretty big areas of improvement.
Really?
And it was a sobering thought.
I got told I looked like a geography teacher, so it wasn't as bad as that, mate.
But you still do.
History, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, it was a bit of like a sobering thought of like, actually, I'm nowhere near as good as like I think I am. Like I'm miles away from where I want to be, and like if I want to become a director, I need to change like all of these things about myself. So like, yeah, just like I guess like if you're running a business, maybe like that's a good thing to do.
Okay. So so obviously Tom, you mentioned obviously you was one of the top billers in that brand. Why do you think that is?
Why do I think that is?
What was your best year?
I just stuck at it.
What was your best year? Firstly?
About 489. So,
really?
And that was in UK IT. So I think if you look at some of the international stuff now, I think, you know, in my opinion, that's where the big money is.
Yeah. And what year was that?
That would have been what are we now? 2019. So that would have probably been 2012.
Yeah.
2013. But I think I just stuck at it. Like,
really?
It sounds silly, but I didn't have any other options. Like, I did a university degree, and it was an all right one. I had a good time at uni, but you know, I wasn't going to go and work.
Yeah. What's the
PwC
alternative?
or be a doctor.
Yeah.
I had I could be a doctor, man. But you know, I didn't have a choice, and I felt like I had a point to prove, so I just got on with it. And I think like, you know, you've got to. That was my thing, and I saw you went through a lot of lows. You know, and suddenly you start seeing the money and it becomes more comfortable and you start learning the job and then it becomes second nature really. But
what did you do? Was there many? So I think obviously what's interesting for you, mate, is obviously quite early on you got sort of exposure to some people that are obviously hitting some big numbers.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of the questions I get or people send messages to me is, Hisham, I'm at the sort of 200 mark or 150 mark, can't break the 200k mark. I was 250. How can I want some advice on breaking that mark? Do you know what I mean? So was that quite in your sort of fall was quite normal to hit those sort of numbers?
Absolutely, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean,
that must be such a factor.
Those figures now, if you look at the GTV group now, I mean, they're doing 6, 7, 8, 9, 900k. The way my advice to those people is always bring on new business.
Always bring on new business.
Always bring on new. What's the stat? You like your stats, Jack, isn't it?
You lose 14% of your book.
There we go.
Year on year, unless you don't. Continue to.
You just got to bring on your businesses because you know you've got 35 contractors. You're like, yeah, great, job done. You know,
get complacent.
40, 50 grand a month. Suddenly, 10 of your contractors go, and you start bringing your managers again. They're like, well, we're not hiring. You've just filled all the positions you've got. So, got to bring on new business.
Did you experience a big jump then in billings, or was it quite a sort of continuous increase for that year? Or
no, it's just relatively. It wasn't one thing that I in particular that I did that. It was just a contribution of just hard graft, really.
What about you, Jack? What was your best year, mate?
My best year was actually when I set up Method.
Really?
Last year, yeah.
That's all right.
From standing start, like that's impressive.
So what was the first year? What did you do first year?
Like pretty much since like my first full year in Opus, it's been between like 200, 250. I've been pretty consistent. So I've never done like the figures that Tom's done, but I was always a perm recruiter up until pretty much like doing some contract stuff with Method.
Yeah.
So yeah, for like the last like 8 years really, it's been pretty much like 200, 250. I think best is about like 270.
Really? So, have you done that at Method?
Yeah.
That's not bad, is it?
That's not too bad. But that was contract and perm.
What have been some of the sort of learnings for you then, mate, in your experience? And again, I think obviously you say those numbers there, not quite big as Tom, but like consistently hitting those numbers, that's decent. Do you know what I mean? To consistently hit those types of numbers. Yeah. What are some of the key things for you that you think have impacted that or contributed to that?
I think it's just like the mix of like your activity around reactive and like proactive business. And just like not like just sat there thinking you've made it because you've had 1 year. You've done like 200 grand, and you've got your accounts, because like your accounts soon dry up. Things can change like the wind. Like our top 3 clients from last year,
not hired this year.
That's really interesting.
Not done a single placement with them. Now, if we just sat on that, like
again, it's back to your point, isn't it?
So that's about it was about probably about 280k of our first year's GP. None of them have hired this year.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and we are 8 months into the year. We do June to June. So
like for me,
that's really interesting.
I just always make sure I'm getting out at least like once or twice a month down to London, meeting as many candidates or clients as possible. Just make sure you've got a good mix of like reactive and proactive, like business development.
And just to clarify for people listening, what do you deem as reactive and proactive?
So reactive being like you've got an interview lead, direct advert, something you're chasing down that like someone's hiring now. Kind of you're chasing your tail a little bit for that. Proactive being you know that they hire. You
mapped out your target clients.
You mapped out, and it's going to take you potentially 3, 6, 12 months, 4 years to get in with a client. You know.
Out of interest, Tom, because again, quite a few people ask me this. Like, what did your day look like when you was building that sort of money, mate? Was it pretty militant?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was. Yeah.
Talk to me. What?
We still use it now.
I still use. Really? When I went. Yeah. So when I sat in that office on my own, literally with no clients, no candidates, an empty database, I went back to the same day plan I had when I started recruitment.
What was the day plan, mate? Talk to me.
Come on, God. Right. So I'd get in the morning and I would call all my hot leads, all my managers pre 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Because, of course, they're all arriving, having a coffee, looking at BBC Sport, having a chit-chat. They go into meetings at 9, so I try and get all that done really early. I then do my reactive manager list probably between 10 and 11, so that would be like a target client I'd wanted to get into, messages on LinkedIn, all that kind of stuff. And then I'd lead gen, hopefully no candidates are listening. I'd lead gen them for a couple of hours, talking to my candidates that I know, what's going on in the market.
Yeah.
Then I would again go back to probably chasing those leads between 10 and 1, have my lunch, and then I'd repeat in the afternoon.
Really?
Which is pretty boring. But for me, again, it was just I like routine, and I think that's how I learned, was some routine, because I knew where I was against my target or what I was looking to achieve.
Yeah, and you worked out that if you did that and you had X amount of conversation where it was going to
that's just how I did it. I'm not saying it's right for everybody, but for me,
no, but a lot of people are interested in how to structure their day, and a lot of people don't structure their day.
Because as a contract consultant, right, you might not pull your first job for 3 months. So how do you know if you're improving? Again, in my opinion, how do you know if you're improving in the first 3 months if you've got no way of measuring it? I think it's very, very difficult to do.
Have both of you always wanted to start your own business?
Not. It was only probably the second half of the 7 to 14 years in recruitment where I wanted to. Yeah.
Really?
I just having seen other people that I thought I was as good as doing it. I thought, it's easy. Why not? Yeah, give it a go. Yeah, make loads of money. Yeah, it's easy peasy, but it's not.
What about you, Jack?
I think you always like the idea of running your own business, because like when you're younger you just assume like if you run your own business you've got more money than everyone else. Well, that's just like a maturity thing again. Maybe because I grew up in Peasdown St John. But I think it was like when I became like a manager, and then like I was becoming much better, like managing people were buying into me. I was still bidding good money, and it's just like you just want to do something for yourself sometimes, don't you?
How did you two meet? Opus?
Yeah.
Or did you know each other?
Oh, no, met Opus, yeah.
Really?
Tom's got a good story about the first time we met.
So when I moved back from, I mean, you obviously you live in Eastbourne, but you live in London now. It's like, what it's like in London. You've got these like wicked pubs and restaurants around. You go out for really nice drinks after work. Well, I joined Opus, and their local was an Italian restaurant. And I'd only been there for a week, so I thought, I'll go and meet everyone and, get to know everyone, real make an effort. So I walked into this Italian at first. I was a bit of a snob. I thought, what is this place?
Yeah.
And these guys had all been on lunch club. So I'm at the bar, like Norman No Mates on my own, like introducing myself to everyone. And then the big oaf, Jack, arrives, comes bounding in, like there's like the sea parts and he comes flying through. Hugs me, gives me this big smooch on the cheek. He was like, all right, mate, I'm Jack, how are you? Yeah, lovely to meet you, mate. He was absolutely smashed. And I thought to myself, like, oh my God, what have I done? Who is this guy? But yeah, I guess, we've always just got on really well from then.
Really?
Yeah.
What, and then did you ever, did he work in your team or did you work in his team? Or
So Jack worked for me for about a year.
Really?
And we always got on really well, like socialised outside of work. Probably like not as much as we didn't do now.
Yeah.
But I think that's what was quite great about it is we work really well to each other because we're quite different in the way we approach different things.
Okay. So then did the conversation of you starting Method also happen in the pub?
Outside of restrictive covenant appearance, just to make that clear. No, it wasn't. Like I left. I left in May, and I was chatting to different investors, and a company in Bristol made me an offer to go and join them. But I thought, if I'm not going to do it now, I'm never going to do it. And I was like, right, who is the best person to come and join as a co-founder? And it was Big JC. So we met for some granola. I think Jack was on one of his health kicks at that point, and a latte. And you sold him we talked about it, and then we just plotted it.
And you're 18 months in.
Yeah.
So obviously happy to share that. Obviously, but you've been back to start that. Is that all cool to talk a bit about that?
Yeah.
So I guess 18 months in. First, just to help for everyone listening, first 12 months, you two.
Yeah.
And then
we had CC who came and worked. We think we hired her in October as a resourcer.
Yeah.
And then we hired a couple of other people that probably no fault of I suppose taking responsibility was we probably hired the wrong people.
Yeah, fair enough.
And now we're up to six with
6 people,
with 2 people joining in January. So
cool. So I guess let's just talk a bit about the first 12 months. That must just you two. How glad are you that you've done it with each other? If you get what I mean, like not just Tom on your own or Jack on your own. How are you pleased that you did it?
Really, definitely.
You know what? Like there isn't anyone else I don't think I would have gone into business with.
Yeah. Cheers, mate. For those who can't see, we're hugging now.
But what do you think has been the benefits of doing it together?
I think for me, like I knew that I had some areas that I needed to work on, and I wanted to surround myself with someone that kind of could give me those areas to work on. And like Tom was that person. Like we worked really well together in Opus. Didn't get a chance to like work as closely together, but this was a good opportunity selfishly for me to kind of bridge a couple of gaps from a skill set level, and the fact that like we're pretty honest and like transparent with each other. We get on really well. Like Tom's a bit of more of a fearless reflector. I'm a bit more of like wear my heart on my sleeve and go for things. But in the end, we come to like good mutual agreements on pretty much all decisions. Probably had like 2 or 3 lovers' tiffs in the 18 months that we've been going. I remember the first one literally. Like I stormed out the office, went to a client meeting, and I saw Tom at a bus stop, and we just looked at each other and give each other a hug. And that was it.
I come off a holiday, you come off a holiday, and you're like, right, what's going on? And I could tell Jack was like, give me some space. I was like, no, what's going on here? What's going on there? And in hindsight, that's exactly what I shouldn't have done. But you have a week off, and you've got all these ideas in your head, haven't you? And you're like, barge in. And
what have been some of the... Again, thinking about what have been some of the benefits you Tom starting with another person?
Just having a sounding board and just I don't know, like I can be quite hard on myself, and so can Jack, hard on himself. But actually, we kept things pretty light for the first year. I think it's because we did so well. Like we had a phenomenal first year. It couldn't have gone any better, really. So we didn't really have until probably the end of our first year anything negative to deal with, really. So we had a pretty
good first year. So then, what did you turn over in the first year?
We did 1.2 million in our first year. Yeah,
not bad. That is
not bad from a standing start. Yeah, and I've been a hands-on recruiter for about 4 years. So literally picking up the phone.
So you was like back on the tools.
Just weird. Yeah, it was weird, but before you know it, I had an offer in my second week. 14K,
really?
14K fee. Yeah, and the candidate didn't take it. I was bringing up
Tom
Jack.
was convinced. He was just like, mate, call this candidate. I was just like, he's not going to take it. He was like, he's going to take it. I was like, he's not going to take it.
Oh, mate, it was horrific.
What, and he did or didn't?
No, he didn't take it, mate. Job wasn't right for him anyway, so yeah.
And then as we were talking about you starting together and stuff like that, I think, so a couple of my clients actually start their own recruitment business being backed by someone. I think anyone listening that is thinking about starting a recruitment business will definitely think about, could I get someone involved? Because help someone obviously jumpstart this business or whatever. I guess from your experience, being back to start your own recruitment business, firstly, what would you say have been the benefits of having that sort of relationship to kickstart things? How's that?
For me personally, I'll be really honest. I didn't want to lie in bed at night and know that I had my house on the line against the business I was doing. So I just knew that wasn't good for me as a person.
Yeah,
sort of the way I'm wired and stuff. So I think if anyone's looking for an investor, like, meet as many of them as you can. You don't need to, you don't need to pick any of them, but I think you can get a lot of insight and pick someone that you get on with.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Like, if people do get an investor,
really
what should they sort of think about?
Yeah, I mean, I find most recruiters are quite cynical, aren't they? Because they're like, right, this, they're going to take my money. And they do as well. But you've got to find someone that you trust. I think meet them multiple times. I'd meet him socially. I'd meet him in a work environment.
Yeah.
I meet him formally, informally, which is what I did. And I think the back we've got has been they've committed to everything we've asked for. And I think you need to try and find that balance between a backer that wants to get involved, but also leaves you to do your own thing.
Hands off.
Like we speak to our backer once a month, but we've made every decision ourselves.
I think that's the part that people are a bit worried about, aren't they? That they'd lose that.
Yeah.
What have been some of the benefits for you, Jack, do you think?
I think the benefits, not for me personally, but just as a company, it means that we were able to grow a contract book pretty much from day one.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're solely your own money, you're probably not going to be in a position to bankroll a contractor. And some companies want 90-day payment terms. Like, you're not going to pay a contractor for 90 days to then get So the benefit of that is that you got your contract book, which means that actually you can kind of scale quicker. So I think that that's probably one of the biggest benefits for us, for sure.
Well, the money I had saved, but I looked at doing it, I mean, that would have gone in about a month, 2 months. Oh yeah.
And why is that then? What would you spend it on?
You've got, again, if you're doing contract business, which you wanted to do from day one, it's just cash flow.
Yeah. Cast yourself back to, as you were saying there, then in the office, just you two, yeah?
Yeah.
In the office, no one on the database, nothing.
No.
Obviously, you just spoke about your day plan, but where did you start?
I tell you what, I basically rang everyone I'd ever worked with outside my restrictive covenants period. And I just said, listen, I've set up, back me, I went down the whole, not sort of feel sorry for me sort of thing, but, back an underdog. I was like, back a startup, set up on my own, worked with you years ago. People I'd placed, people I'd worked with, anyone that I knew who had a relationship with me of some sort, I was just like, work with me. And we found that people just got involved in our journey and bought into everything that we were trying to do.
Really?
And it's been phenomenal, really. The relationships we've had.
How do you?
I was like a rabbit in headlights because I joined Tom 3 weeks after.
Yeah.
And he's there just smashing through the phone calls no, tomorrow. And I was just
honestly, I never
forget. Fuck this.
Really?
He walked in bolden in all right, and then in about an hour he just went pale.
Really? Why? Why did you go pale?
Tom, for the last part of my career at Opus, I wasn't really kind of winning new business, and I was just like, where the hell do I start here?
Yeah.
No candidates, no nothing. Like Tom, I literally got my LinkedIn and just went through every single person on my LinkedIn who I'd worked with as a candidate, as a client previously, and just reached out to them and just let them know that what was happening.
This is what we're doing. This is what I'm up to.
And just told them the reasons why we're setting up, what the objective is. People bought into the story, and what we found is that actually a lot of people prefer to work with a smaller business because they feel like the business is that they're given to you is going to be looked after rather than just having another recruitment agency dealing with just any other.
Did you guys have a business plan?
Do deals.
I thought you being backed, that would have meant that you had to have more structure around that sort of stuff.
And a lot of the investors I met were we don't necessarily need, everything goes out the window super quickly. You can plan, I'm sure people disagree, but if you're generating business yourself, right, you follow your nose, don't you?
Yeah. Especially early on.
Yeah, we came across a client that Jack had worked with, who we did probably about 100K with. Really? We had no idea that was week 3 or week 4. We had no idea that we'd work with them. So suddenly we started doing this certain type of work really, really quickly. So we did a year forecast of what we want to do in our first year, which we absolutely smashed. But I don't know. We didn't.
So did you not know the sort of market that you was going to go for then?
Yeah, we knew all of
Yeah,
that
yeah.
stuff. Yeah, but around
the business
around
plan
numbers.
was
Yeah,
pretty much. Tom's done like BI data stuff. Let's go after that. I've done testing.
Yeah.
Like, let's just give ourselves the best chance of success and just go after the two markets where we've got the relationships, we've got the candidates, we've got the networks, and go at it.
Yeah.
And let's see how well we do at it. And really quickly, we were starting to bring on some like decent business. And it was almost like you don't want to bite off too much more than what you can chew.
Yeah.
There were clients who are going, oh, can you help us on this? Can you help us on this? But like sometimes you've got to say no to
Yeah.
business.
Is that something
rather
you
than,
learned
like,
then?
definitely.
Yeah, for
Because
sure.
early on you're very prone to go yes.
Yeah, you lose your brand, you lose your like the quality of the work you're doing.
Yeah.
Like your brand dilutes really quickly.
Yeah, and isn't a lot? I've experienced this myself. Starting my own thing now, and like for me, obviously, it was the first time I actually had to say no, and it was.
Yeah.
It's not like because when you work for someone, it's a bit more easier to say no. I feel like, but saying no when it's your own business, like, well,
a bit odd, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit weird.
Yeah.
It's your decision.
Clients will respect you more though. For
Yeah,
it.
no, totally.
Yeah.
So, would you go back and do anything different? Do you think?
System work, yeah, probably.
System work.
Well, like we you know, because we got off the ground so quickly, we're doing plenty of placements. Is we probably didn't register stuff like we should have done as quickly as we should have, which we addressed probably about month sort of 8 or 9. But I don't know. Like I think maybe like the way like I know we spoke about it earlier. I think I was quite conscious when we spoke to people. It's like the first thing to say to you, how many heads you got now, or how many hires you've got. And I think perhaps we just got drawn into that. Right, we've got to hire loads of people.
Yeah.
Maybe we should have done that a slightly different way. But I don't.
Would you have done anything different, Jack? Do you think going back, starting?
No, like I think like year 1 was like a really good year for us.
Yeah.
Like the learning curve is like certainly been year 2. Will we do things different? Yeah, we've had like a few learning curves. Like one of them being like, don't hire purely based on ability. You got to hire based on like culture fit with a blend of an ability for sure.
Yeah.
But like if someone's like, if there's a few red flags around like there, like the culture fit, like don't hire them.
Leave it, yeah.
So I think that's probably like one of the biggest like ones that we've learned from.
Just to finalise that, then, if I'm listening right now and I'm like in those first 3 months starting on my own, what would you say?
What, when you're hiring someone?
No, as in like,
right.
so if I'm listening right now and I'm 3 months in to start my own recruitment
Yeah.
business, what are we saying to these people?
Concentrate on getting your sales going.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I had 3 months off work, so I got all the website up and running. That was all done. The branding was all designed before we got going. But from day one, it was just about sales. Because I think you can. Well, you don't have a business unless you're generating cash, do you?
Yeah.
You can have the best culture in the world. You can have all this great stuff around it, LinkedIn profile and stuff. Ultimately, if you've got no cash going through your business, and also your stress levels are a lot lower when you've got business coming in. So I think that would be my biggest piece of advice.
I guess if like you're going from like a consultant angle, it's like making sure you got your day plans, like Tom was saying. Plan the night before, so when you come in, you know exactly what you're doing.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer on like mobile to mobile phone calls to hiring managers, like pre 9 o'clock. We used to have like 9 before 9.
Yeah.
It's all about just like setting the pace and the tone for the day. If you're having like 4 or 5 good conversations before 9 o'clock, like that wave of like positivity and energy that will just continue throughout the rest of the day.
Yeah.
If you get in and your pace and urgency is sit down, grab a coffee, scroll through the news articles, have a little flick through Facebook, like you're never going to be like you're never going to be making
Start
like,
the days
serious
you
money.
mean to
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think so.
And it's just having that intensity, and I have that intensity like the entire day. I don't really like to have like any lull moments.
Yeah.
But then at least when I get home, I know that like I've had a good day.
You've had a good day.
We do have fun, by the way, though.
Yeah. But like
caveat, no, we do have fun.
So year 1, it seems like it went pretty well then.
Yeah.
So, but was the learning there then the hiring for your business?
Yeah, it's like if anyone's, I'm sure lots of people have gone through it. If anyone's doing it, it's difficult because you want to, like, we were very conscious of not creating a male orientated boiler house room
Smash the
environment. We didn't
Sausage
want
factory.
that. Yeah, sausage factory.
Didn't
So
want
our first hire, we made sure it was a girl.
Yeah.
We wanted to do that straight away to try and break down any barriers. Our office now is like an eclectic. We're like the recruitment version of the in-betweeners. Like we always refer to ourselves. We got real different backgrounds, real different.
Will.
Yeah, we will. Yeah. Cheers, mate. But we got like a real different. Like everyone's so different,
and that's something you've consciously done.
100%.
Really.
Yeah.
And why have you done that?
Because we didn't want to. You see a lot of people saying we want to change recruitment and stuff. We don't want to do it. We just want to make fundamentally the method and our approach to recruitment to be as slick as possible, to make sure if a client gives us a job, like we're done. But what we were very conscious of doing is making sure we didn't have an environment where it was just full of blokes.
So like loads of little Toms. Loads of
yeah,
little Jacks,
exactly. We didn't want that. It might take slightly longer perhaps to build that environment. You might to kiss a few frogs, as they say. But it's
for me,
for scalability, you've got to do that. You've got to do that.
Like people buy from different people at the end of the day. Like what works for me might not necessarily work for Rich or for Nicola. I think you've got to have like a diverse, number of employees because their approach to doing business development is going to be different from person to person. And we've had people that I've been trying to get in with for years that those guys have come in, got much less experience than me, but their just approach is a little bit softer, a little bit different. So actually, they've had the engagement that I have been trying to get.
So how have you got better at for those? Because again, it is a real challenge. I hear about it all the time. Like, how have the both of you got better at hiring? But obviously, you're always prone to not making the wrong hire. But what are some of the sort of non-negotiables now? Maybe that you look in people when you're considering them to join Method, or
you've got to be able to enjoy their company. I think, especially in a small environment, is that we've had scenarios recently where we've met big billers that want to join us, but quite frankly, they've not been quite right for us, and we've said no to them.
Yeah.
We've actually opted to hire people that are, far less experienced, but they're people that we can enjoy going out for a drink with, working with, have a laugh with, and stuff. And I think that's my biggest learn. It's like when you're spending 11 hours a day with people, you've got to enjoy their company.
You've got to enjoy their company.
Yeah, I think that my friend Dan Lewis, he basically worked with me at Opus, went to Australia, and he set up the Australian office, and they went from 2 people to now 100 people over there in 4 years. So
really,
I went to him, asked him for advice because learned from that in the early years. Asked for advice because we were essentially doing a couple of things wrong. He said, your first 10 people, mate. He was like, you've got to be able to take them for a pint. If you can't go for a pint with them, he's like, you don't hire them, no matter how good they are.
Really?
And I kind of took that on board, and actually it's worked pretty well. Just taking that simple approach. If you can't go for a pint with them or socialise with them, don't ever hire them. And I think that will change as you scale.
Of course. But I think right now, I think that's
get mini subcultures, but certainly for the first 10 hires.
So it's your nucleus, isn't it? If you really have a solid 10 people that live and breathe what you're about and what you want it to be, then
they got to buy. Going back to what makes a good manager and stuff is that would I want to work for me? If you're hiring these people, they've got to buy. Firstly, buy into Method, most importantly, but also buy into us and Jack as founders of the business. So you've got to buy people that buy into you, that you can enjoy. Both work and socializing with them as well. And
then what's been your, again, I know we were talking about earlier, but sort of your view on having the business? Is it something that both of you have known, right, it's just us two, but we know we want it to be bigger than just us two? Do you know what I mean? Has it always been something that you've wanted to grow and get people involved in?
Yeah. Well, we refer to the 6 now as the original 6.
Really?
In an ideal situation, in 10 years' time, the original 6 will still be here. That might not happen. Anything could happen.
But this is a business that you want more people involved.
Yeah,
you want to grow it.
Yeah.
And has that always been the way, then, or has that evolved in the last 18 months? Do you think?
I for me personally, and I think Tom's on the same wavelength. It's I don't want it to be a 200-300 pound, 200-300 person business.
Yeah.
No. I'd rather have it as a 20, 25, maybe 30, but everyone's performing at the highest level. And when I joined Opus, we were small, 30, 40 people. Everyone was pretty much that, and they were the most enjoyable years for me.
Really,
and
fair enough.
I just wanted to kind of maybe recreate that, but without scaling it beyond that. But who knows? It's easy to say that, and then next thing you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Do you feel like you've got a grasp of what your culture? I was talking about this the other day. Do you know what I mean? That's an interesting one, isn't it? Everyone talks about culture, but Do you feel like you have a cult? You've built.
I think I wouldn't say we got the finished article yet at all. But like I don't think you ever can you?
Yeah.
Like I think culture evolves, isn't it? I think we definitely got now with the original 6. They weren't the original 6, but they're the 6 people that we've got who I believe that we're going to build the business on. Yeah. We've got a wicked culture there.
Yeah. They buy into method. Culture. They buy into us. Let's face it, they're not buying into like this office. But it's like the spit and sawdust of a startup. Like we didn't want someone to join us for the reason because we've got a nice swanky office.
It's interesting. We had an opportunity to do that, but we made the conscious decision to stay where we are because we wanted people to come in and look around and be like, wow, this isn't the greatest, but like this person joining Method, I can become a good recruiter.
Yeah.
And that's fundamentally for us is that, if people work for us, we can teach you to be a good recruiter. We might not have, a ping pong table or a dog we have a robotic dog, but, we might not have that at the moment, but, we will teach you to be a good recruiter.
Yeah. And obviously if you've got people bought into you guys and all that, then that's
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So last 18 months then, I mean, we were speaking about downs and stuff.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the challenges. It's been pretty positive. Had a good first year. Let's talk about, because it's not all roses, is it?
No.
What's been some of the biggest challenges for the both of you since starting this business?
Tom going on holiday and leaving me.
Yeah.
Have you had much holidays?
I work less hours working and running Method than I've ever worked.
Less, really?
Yeah. Just because when you're in you're effective, aren't you? I'm
either of you, if you've both been on holiday, like how comfortable was you not being in the business every day? Do you know what I mean? How was that?
Oh, it was amazing, mate. I was lying by a pool in Portugal for 2 weeks.
Did you find it difficult though?
Yeah. I mean, of course you're on your phones and stuff.
Yeah.
But I
find it hard to switch off. Tom's like, Jack, put down your phone. You're on holiday. Enjoy it.
Yeah.
I'm like, but how's that deal come in?
Yeah.
But
I think you got to trust your. You trust each other and stuff. I think for me the hardest thing I've found is hiring, getting it right, retaining your staff, making sure everyone's happy. I think for me on a personal level, it's you look at your sales board, you've not got deals on there.
Yeah.
You need to put deals on there. You need to make sure you're training your new starters. You need to make sure they're buying into Method. You've then got to write your L&D program. It's
got to wear a lot of hats.
Yeah. And I think as we move into our second year, the responsibility is then on Jack and I to make sure we're carving our roles out in the right way to make sure, But
you've both had to be really willing to do different things, but you're aware that that's going to...
Just got to do you've got to do what you need to do to start.
The good thing about me and Tom is Tom knows my strengths and my weaknesses and vice versa, and we can kind of work off of that. I think that thing that sometimes we're a bit privy to, in which we're still on a learning curve, is we're a bit too face down sometimes with just worrying about doing a deal, getting some money on the board. Actually, sometimes you need to lift your head up and think, okay, what is the wider strategy, the wider picture here that we're trying to achieve? The rest will look after itself.
Yeah.
Because you got to trust the employees to do the activity, whilst me and Tom can focus on some of the other stuff. So that's a learning curve that we're going through at the moment. But,
and then again, just I know also we were talking about this before the podcast, Tom, but I think just for people listening who are early on, you were talking about you're quite grateful that you've got quite a good network of people that you can lean on and have a bit of a sounding board. How valuable has that been, do you think? Having people that have sort of walked the...
it's really recruiters. You can be friends with other recruiters. It's funny, isn't it? There's this misconception that he's a recruiter. I can't.
He's going to take money out of your pocket.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. There are lots of startups in Bristol that we know of people that we've spoken to, people from G2 and Vivid that have opened their own companies and run their own offices. Everyone speaks to each other. It might be a simple call of I'm thinking of hiring this person. Is it a good idea? You give them a 5-minute overview of what the situation is, and they just give you their.
So I think anyone listening, be willing to sort of reach out to people. You'd be surprised how many people we're willing to help.
Yeah, absolutely. We found, Jack said earlier, we found that everyone wants to support a startup and help you with your journey, whether it's branding or whether it's reaching out to an old trainer that used to deal with I spoke to Hannah about you before I'd even spoken to you and all that kind of stuff. Everyone wants to help you out.
Yeah. How talking about a bit about challenges and things like that, how has, since having your own business, how has it impacted your personal relationships? Because you both have partners in recruitment, which I think is mental.
Mate, yeah.
So has it impacted your personal relationships?
PSL recently.
True story.
Like how yeah.
Like our relationships, like outside.
Well, that or also like just your personal relationships, your mates, your girlfriend's wife, whatever. Like, do you know what I mean? Because there are things that people
don't ever
think
leave
about.
each other alone, mate. It's like Friday. Like, oh, what are you doing tonight, mate? Do you want to come around for a takeaway with the wife?
Really. God, it sounds really cliche. I genuinely, like, on my kid's life, I'm at my happiest now than I've ever been in the industry because like we're in control of what we're doing. Like previous companies, you know, billing more money and making more money, but you're at the mercy of other people. You can't, you know, someone can come in one day and go, right, we're doing this, we're changing that. And you're like, well, hang on a second. We're on the shop floor.
Yeah.
We're marshalling the troops. You know, what are you doing? Yeah. And I think we're in control of that. And for me personally, the way I'm wired, that is super important. Yeah.
But then in terms of obviously you have a young family, so like, how's that been in terms of running the business?
Well, it's like, you know, you message Jack and say, I'm going to be in at 9 o'clock, mate. I need to drop drop Harry to school or whatever. It's like, yeah, no worries. Or because ultimately, like, if you know, it's the old saying, is it's like you put into it what you get out of it. Yeah, that is exactly it. If like if we're not representing method as the way we want to represent it, then our staff aren't going to do it. You know, if they need to go and do things, we let them do it. You know, I wouldn't say we're promoting 4-day weeks or that kind of stuff on the moment anyway, but like, you know, Jack and I listen to Simon Sinek quite a lot, and he's always like, autonomy, purpose and mastery are the three biggest motivators for people. And if we can give people autonomy and trust them to master something and they've got a purpose of why they're here, then hopefully they'll buy into that, which makes our life a lot easier, really.
What about you, Jack? Because I think the reason why I asked is because, like, again, there'll be recruiters listening, thinking about starting their own business, and typically the things that they may not think about is the relationship with their partner and how that's going to be and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? Or, like, I don't know. I just thought if what's been your experience?
I used to work like every hour underneath the sun, and it used to stress me out. I generally work less hours than I've ever done before. We've got a gym that's next door. Go to the gym at lunchtime, just like clears my mind. Is actually where I do the best thinking, is actually in the gym at lunch. I then come back, just refresh, revise, and then go again. It's like just dividing up your day a little bit. And yeah,
but we've been quite fortunate so far. Like, I think as we get bigger, I always find as a manager, when your team gets bigger, you've got more things to think about. Sure. We've had relatively small teams at the moment, so there's business to think about. But I think as we get bigger and we start trying to scale it, I think that's where it becomes, there's more to think about then, isn't there? There's more like plates to spin and
anything. And then to sort of finalise this, I guess, anything that you guys do now on a weekly or just now is quite habitual to you to help you get through the tough times, and obviously because now it's on both of your shoulders, isn't it? If anything goes wrong, and like anything that you do that.
It's a good pub across the road, Penny. Really? Like Meg and Chips,
I think it's just really important about like how you set yourself up for the week. So always have like a Monday morning meeting, first thing, like find out what business is going on. We can like deconstruct that, like the things that are about to happen for the week. And like, I think it's really important just about like the setup for the week. We have a catch up on a Wednesday to see how the week's going, and a catch up on a Friday, so that we can then plan, ahead. So I think that's like
do you know what? There's one thing actually. It's like, which I wasn't very good at. It's like you talk about like having a business plan. Like we now have a long-term BD plan, which is the RTTS stuff that Jack's doing. Nice. Like that's going to hopefully soundproof our business in 6 to 12 months' time. It's a long-term business development plan where we're holding these big events that Jack's running. That's hopefully going to cement those big-term relationships. And I think that's something that, for me, I think is certainly will soundproof the business moving forward.
So, obviously, both of you been in recruitment for a while. As we finish this, then where do you see recruitment going? Where is this all going? Do you think?
Like for me, like recruitment's changed a lot since I've got in it, especially on the technical recruitment side. Roles have become a lot more technical. Recruiters need to become a lot more technical. I think if you need to survive to be a good recruiter, if you're doing IT recruitment, more specifically, you need to really understand like the discipline that you're operating within. So like one thing that like, as Tom just like started to touch upon, is like we had an objective of setting up with Method of like being a recruitment business but investing into like the technical communities that we're operating in. There's already a ton of like meetups already happening, so like let's not copy what other people are already doing. But I identified there was a bit of like a spot in the market to create a roundtable event specifically engineered for kind of like thought leaders and innovators in my testing space. In a roundtable format. Started bouncing the idea off a couple of people that I really respect and trust in the market. They were like, love the idea of that. Like, I've been to a couple of things similar, but like nothing the way that you described it.
Yeah, sure.
So we went ahead with that, done the first one. 2 weeks ago, partnered with Just Eat on it, which is, one of our clients. And it was a great event.
Yeah.
It wasn't your traditional presentation, one person talking for 2 hours. We broke people down.
So for you then, it's just like living and breathing your market. You have to.
Yeah, 100%. Like as Tom said, like long-term, like business strategy is to use that as like your part of your longer-term proactive business development. But like to anyone, just know your market, like in terms of like your candidates, know your clients, know your tech, and then that will then give you like the
competitive advantage, or
the competitive advantage and like the respect of like the people that you're speaking with as well.
What about you, Tom? Where do you see recruitment going, mate? You've been in the game for a while.
Oh, it's a tough one, isn't it? Like Jack said, it's definitely changed. I think there's way more tech around than there's ever been.
Yeah.
And I think choosing the right like tech platforms to work with or partner with is super important. But I think ultimately for me, like, and I'm a bit of a dinosaur with this sorts of things, you've got to embrace all that new stuff. You have to do it, otherwise you're going to get left behind. But for me, it's like relationships are just like
still they're always going to be
fundamentally
important.
like if you've got a good relationship with someone, you can have everything can change and you evolve and you change what you're doing. But if you've got a good relationship with someone, I think for me that's the most important thing.
What have been some of the, just on that note, I remember quite a few people asking me this, what's been some of the, as you said, there's so much tech right now, what's been some of the sort of best tech that you've implemented in your business that had quite a good impact?
You've got LinkedIn, I'd have thought.
Really?
Yeah, we've got 2 LinkedIn recruiter licenses, which for a startup is we're investing a lot of money in that. But we get a lot of our candidates from LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But it's things like candidate ID and various other bits and bobs. We've used Sourcebreaker as well, which is wicked.
Yeah.
And what we've got is we run every quarter. The guys get we invest a percentage of our profit back into L&D and training.
Yeah.
So if the guys want a certain level, a certain piece of technology, and we can use that money to invest and to bring it in.
So why did you decide to do? Because I think that's such a good idea. When you tell me about this, so 1% of your profits towards investing in the people.
Yeah, I guess like we wanted to hire people that are good at recruitment. Yeah. So we want people that are trained well, that have access to the best tech, like within reason. Like We're not going to go bankrupt to do it. So we had the idea of, well, every quarter, if you can invest a percentage of your GP into the revenue that the guys create, they then go away and choose who they want to bring in, and for whatever reason it may be. That's why you're here. Like the guys noticed you on LinkedIn. Jack reached out to you. We all sat down and talked about, right, what do we want to spend that money on? And obviously it was you. So well done, mate. You work, mate. So
no, I think that's a great thing, though. I don't know how many people I've
I don't think many startups do it. Might be wrong, but
as we finish then, what are you guys, before I ask you the last question, what are you guys excited about that you want to shout about? What's going on in the method world?
Well, we started talking about it a little bit with like the RTTS, like the roundtable event. It was such a good like success with the first one. We're going to be running that every 3 months, so there's some continuity between like the meetups that are happening. People actually wanted it to be happening on a monthly basis. Yeah. The fact is, like, it just absorbs too much of your time to do it on a monthly basis. But it's a good additional bolt-on to the services that we're already offering. And then we've replicated that event for engineering leaders and now data engineering leaders.
Nice.
So I think for like us is like again like that medium to long-term business development strategy is definitely kind of doing that. And like I think it's just more about like we've got a really strong team that are relatively junior at the moment, but like there's some good promise there.
By them,
So what I'm excited about is like getting every single one of them and like not just building like a career, but like a career where they'll become like a future director in the business, where they can then start to build their own teams, and then me and Tom can retire and
we're also moving into a new office next week, which like for me is something I'm super proud of.
Big milestone.
This has been amazing here, and like I like the story of starting off in a God, our backers are going to get annoyed by saying it's a shit office, but in a smaller office, where there's nothing great about it. So we're moving into really beautiful office in Clifton next Thursday, hopefully.
That's a big commitment, right?
Yeah,
you know,
about that. we've gone, you know, balls out really. But I guess it gives us the ability to scale, which is a sign that like we don't want just a little small team.
Yeah.
We want to
because again, I think being in an environment where you feel like you can't scale, it definitely impacts your decision making.
Yeah, of course.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
So if you're making that investment, you're like, you know what, we can definitely scale and grow in this size business. Then that's
so like the point you made there is an investment. Like it's not for our ego. It's an investment back into the business. So we're investing money for L&D, for training for the guys, and we're investing in an office so we can give the guys a better environment to work in, and also an opportunity to hire more people. So
you're going to get an office dog?
No.
Okay.
But like for
all right, we might do.
But for like the team, like they all like if they see that we're moving into a new office, that they see
part
that,
of that journey.
Yeah, part of that journey. They know that actually things are like we're not just full of hot air. We're not just promising things that then we're delivering against. It's like we're promising things, we're delivering against it. They'll then buy into us even more, and hopefully, they'll do more deals in return.
More deals, please.
Yeah.
Final question before we finish,
Go
mate.
on.
All right. So basically, you can answer this question with a phrase, a sentence, but the question is, if you could communicate to every single recruiter out there, they'd take on your advice, they'd implement it.
I know what I'm going to say. I don't know if it's the right thing or not.
Nah, mate, you got to be honest. What would you say, Jack? I know what you're going to say.
So
what would
say
you
that
say,
question
Jack?
again.
So if you could communicate to every single recruiter out there, and they'd listen to Jack, they'd take on your advice, they'd implement it tomorrow. What comes to mind? A phrase, a sentence. What would you say to these people?
It's like for them to like build a successful career, basically.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
It's not a complicated question, mate.
Yeah, like what would you say? Go on then, Tom. You
My
start.
one phrase is this might go down badly.
Go on.
Pick up the phone.
Pick up the phone. Okay.
Yeah, like I was going to say that like in a few more words, but yeah, like I'd mirror that is like you
to build that is
Build relationships.
It's all about relationships, and that is for me.
don't fall into the trap of being the modern day recruiter where you're just relying solely on email contact. Like
Yeah.
I've seen some people actually be pretty good at it, but like you're limiting
Have the
yourself.
balance between
Yeah.
I think that like if you want to be a really good recruiter, you need to put yourself into more of like the thought leadership space longer term. Like otherwise, like you'll always just be kind of like an average recruiter.
That's a long phrase, that mate. But a good one.
Lads, it's been a pleasure.
Cool.
Thank you.
Cheers,
Thanks
mate.
for having us, mate.